Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Kev's Movie Corner. I am Kev, he is Doug, and this week we are talking about Star Wars Episode 3 / no, wait, hold on. Star Wars Episode 6.
Yeah.
6. Return of the Jedi. So, yes, 6. Originally the third one, but 6. The brief little thing from IMDb is after rescuing Han Solo from Jabba the Hutt, the Rebel Alliance attempts to destroy the second Death Star while Luke struggles to help Darth Vader back from the dark side. Did you know originally this was supposed to be called Revenge of the Jedi?
Yeah, just from watching some behind the scenes stuff and
Yeah.
But
they just decided to change it because they Jedis wouldn't have revenge, I guess is what I saw. I read something like that, is they wouldn't have a revenge because that's not like their style or whatever. But I thought that was interesting. But yeah, so Return of the Jedi is this one. This is the third. This is the last of the original trilogy. I did not remember this movie being at Jabba the Hutt's palace for so long. I have to say,
there's a lot that goes on.
There's a lot that goes on at Jabba the Hutt's palace, and I didn't remember it being at Jabba the Hutt's palace so long. I thought it was like 10 minutes at Jabba the Hutt's palace, and then we were on to the next thing. Like, I did not remember it being like. It seemed like it was like a third of the movie, which it is. It's like it seems like a third of the movie at Jabba the Hutt's palace. And I didn't remember it being that long there, but it is. And there's a lot that happens, but it's a lot that's it's fine. It's a good part of the movie, but I just didn't remember that much of it happening there.
I mean, he's such an iconic villain. I think that was kind of part of why they gave him so much time in the last episode at the time. But yeah, they do spend a lot of time there. Yeah. I mean, it's like every time you think, okay, this is going to happen, then, Luke shows up and, next thing you know, they're at the pit. So a third probably is a little overboard, but there is a lot of time spent there. Yeah. It really is. So.
Yeah, I didn't remember it spending that much time there. But again, it's a good part of the movie. Like, I just didn't remember it being that much. I also didn't. Luke goes back to Dagobah after this. Like, after he saves Han, or after they save Han, he goes back to Dagobah. I also didn't remember him being there for such a short. Like, I didn't remember Yoda dying that quick. Like, there's so many things that I guess it's been a while since I've seen this one. Like, I remember Empire, so I must have seen that one more recently. But I guess I didn't watch this one when I watched when I watched A New Hope and Empire somewhat recently, because I didn't remember a lot of this stuff happening. So I don't know when the last time I saw this movie was, because a lot of this did not ring a bell.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I mean, obviously, I've watched the first three the most, and this has one of those, like I said, the first three, either nostalgia or what. This is not the strongest one of the three. I think it's the weakest one of the original three. And I have to admit, it's not one that I watched a ton. And rewatching it, even though I know it pretty well by heart, I'm not, as I get older, enjoying it as much. And I was really, when I rewatched it and was specifically looking for stuff, I was almost kind of disappointed.
Okay.
Because those hold such a spot in my heart, and don't get me wrong, there's still, this is still going to be in my top 4 or 5 of all the Star Wars. but there's just something about when I saw it in '83, I would have been 9. The Ewoks were cute.
Yeah.
I didn't really, I don't know. There's just something about it. I guess looking at it more from a technical standpoint, they were almost too childish.
Yeah.
But as a 9-year-old, I loved it. But as an adult, it doesn't play well. And then the whole idea that they pretty well, can take down the stormtroopers and all this and that. And I don't know. It was almost just over the top, too childish as I watched it. I was a little. I'm not gonna say depressed when I got done watching it, but it was just I was just just like there's just something about that. And like I said, you went from such a dark one, an Empire, and I thought they took leaps and bounds over A New Hope.
Yeah.
In the plot and the story and stuff. I thought this one was a little. I thought they kind of took a step backwards.
Yeah. This one's very, very lighthearted. Like,
yeah.
I mean, there you do have the scenes with Luke and Vader and the Emperor that are not, but you have the Ewoks, which are kind of almost like a joke, like
Almost.
scenes,
I mean,
yeah.
yeah. I think there's some deep psychological inner growth with Luke
Yes.
and the emotional stuff with his father, and
Mm-hmm.
you even find out, Leia's his sister. So there's a lot of you see that growth, and I definitely thought Mark Hamill took a huge step in his acting. I thought
Mm-hmm.
he was a lot better, and part of it maybe was the role. I think the role needed him to be more serious, being a Jedi now.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't that little farm boy on Tatooine, that we met 6 years before, 9 years, whatever it was. Um, so overall, I thought it was. I don't know. There's certain aspects. I thought the space fight, everything over Endor was fabulous.
Yeah.
It's one of the best ones, and it still holds up. I was looking at some of that, and we talked about how the technology jumped from A New Hope to Empire. I thought the technology on that even jumped even more
Mm-hmm.
in the fight scene and stuff. There's just certain aspects of it I just didn't. I like darker tone movies in general.
Yeah.
That's just my personality, and I think that's why Empire stands out so well. And I mean, don't get me wrong, the throne room finale is great. I thought Palpatine stole the show.
Yeah.
I mean, I really do. I thought, but you got to see the transition of power.
Mm-hmm.
Vader got beat down and everything else. But you just got to see Palpatine. I forgot how much I enjoyed his character. I think I wrote down he looked chilling and manipulative.
Yeah.
It was almost just
Very much
like,
so. Yes.
oh, it was so good. I just thought he stole the whole scene. It just almost, looking back on it, looked a little too easy to destroy him.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
For as powerful as he was, I thought just to pick him up and throw him, I thought that was a little. I don't know. I guess as an adult, I wanted a little bit more. Back then, it was like, oh, that's great. But, he's this almighty and powerful. And we see back in Revenge of the Sith how powerful he is,
Mm-hmm.
and you telling me he couldn't pulled out a lightsaber, done something, I mean, now I realize he's supposed to be older at this point. But I had a little problem with that. But the throne room overall is pretty emotional,
Mm-hmm.
to get to see the full arc of Vader come back to the good side,
Yeah.
after all those years.
Uh you talk about Luke like being more Jedi and like more serious as a Jedi. Uh Something that I thought of at the beginning when he first shows up and he is very serious is there's I don't really understand where he became that because he didn't there's no indication that he did any more training from the last one to this episode, like
Mm-hmm.
from Empire to this, because after this he says he's going back to see Yoda. That's the whole thing. He's going to go finish his training with Yoda. So where did he supposedly like where did he go to get the extra tray? Like, what happened there? It seems like there's a imbalance somewhere where he like all of a sudden went from being this novice to like a somewhat of a Jedi master all of a sudden.
Yeah, and they don't really explain it. I don't know timeline, if there's, you have to presume it's not been years in between,
Yeah.
from one to the other. So I don't know. And even when he goes back to see Yoda, Yoda's like, basically you are a master now. You're basically I can't teach you anything else at this point. So I you bring up a good question. I don't know that there is an answer to that. At least not from my standpoint. I don't know how to explain it, but he did. He went from obviously Tatooine being very childish. You could see a lot of growth in Empire, and then all of a sudden he's a Jedi. And I guess it's just, we have to accept that's just, but yeah, there's no explanation as to, he wasn't getting training from anyone else. And if he was, they don't explain any of that.
Yeah.
But there, that goes back to that whole idea of there's a little bit of the continuity from the stories when he went back and rewrote. Because, there's the whole thing with Leia talking about remembering, because she asked Luke, doesn't Luke ask, do you remember our mom, or do you remember, your mom at all? Yeah. And she does, but Padme died, so that's wrong. Now, does she remember her adopted mother? Maybe that's what they meant.
That's kind of what I was wondering is like, do you remember your mom? I kind of figured she was talking about like whoever was her mom, like Organa, like whoever Senator Organa's wife was. Like that's who kind of I figured she was talking about. But I don't know.
I think it's just I think we were just supposed to accept that he's grown during that time, done his own training. Maybe Obi-Wan, he had been talking to Obi-Wan. Maybe true. Obi-Wan had helped him. Maybe it wasn't so much the physical training, more it was the mental side of it. And stuff like that, which I would assume Obi-Wan could have taught him a lot of that stuff on his own. And who knows? There's a lot of Jedis out there, Qui-Gon Jinn, any of those people could have reached out. Who knows what the way the Force works. So I would have just assumed that somewhere along the line, it was just the personal growth and growing up and the training. But yeah, they don't ever really get into how he went from that to that, and just, you're supposed to accept it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do like the fact, I did like the fact when he's blind, and, he can't see initially because he's been in the carbonite, and, Chewie's there with him, and, and I'm going to sound not sexist at all, but, Princess Leia's bikini outfit, chain bikini that was pretty daring. I don't even know if daring is the right word. For kind of a kid's movie.
Risque.
Looking back as an adult, I'm thinking, man, that was, but man, as an adult, it was just one of those things. I'm trying to figure out why he put her in that outfit. Does it even make any sense that he would put her in that outfit as an adult? No. I think she looks great in it. I'm not trying to sound sexist in any kind of way, but I don't understand why she was in it at the same time. It didn't really fit the narrative for.
So there is I did find a trivia thing on this. I don't know how accurate this is. It's on IMDb, but I will tell you what it says. It says Carrie Fisher complained about costumes in the previous two movies to George Lucas. He explained that he wanted her to be set apart instead of being just an eye candy and damsel in distress. That he didn't want her to be like that, and she apparently said that sometimes it was hard for people to understand that she was some people may not have even seen her as like a woman, and at some point he's like, okay, fine, we'll put you in this thing.
Well, we're gonna make sure,
I don't know,
maybe that explains it.
I don't know if that was a decision by this, because in a lot of the movies she is she is covered up, she's got her hair up,
sure,
I don't know. Maybe not. I don't know. I've also heard, interviews with her where she's like, George said that there wasn't any underwear
bras and
in space or whatever. So, there's a lot of different stories that you hear about this, but in the same thing, it says that there was also because of the way it wasn't really form fit, I guess, or the way the metal moved, they had to reshoot a lot of things because there was apparently a lot of wardrobe malfunctions at times because it doesn't really, it's
I can
not
see that.
really, designed, it doesn't really fit. It's metal. It doesn't really move much. So,
and I didn't know if the whole idea was that she was, supposed to be kind of a slave girl type thing.
Yeah, it is.
The one dancer girl who gets 8, she's kind of in a slutty, maybe it's not the right word, but she was in kind of a type of outfit kind of too that would not be kind of indicative of what you think. And maybe it just shows what, maybe it was just more, okay, this is just showing what kind of creature that Jabba the Hutt is. He's an iconic villain, but he's just a nasty villain. He's just, and maybe it was just to kind of show how bad of creature, and I don't want to say person, but just kind of how bad a villain he was.
I think it is. I mean, she's chained to his like chair. Like,
exactly.
I mean, I think it is kind of, that's what it's meant to show, is that he's not a great person and she's like a trophy. Like, that's what she's supposed to be. Like,
and I do have a little problem that she choked him to death. That seemed a little, I don't know how else you kill him off, but and here I am sitting here picking this apart and stuff, but the overall general theme and the way they brought it all together still outweighs the flaws of the movie. There was still a lot of good about the movie. But going back to, like I said, out of the 3 originals, it is, in my opinion, the weakest. It's it's just, I don't know. Like I said, I can't get over how kind of disappointed I was watching it. And I admit it had been a while. And the other big point I was disappointed in, and I even remember this being younger, is with the first 2, and I've said this in our previous movies, I like that even though they're sequels, they're so different. They're on different worlds. They're, it's not like you just rehash the same more or less plot. They're so different and creative. And to come back with the Death Star kind of 2, I think that really bothers me. It's like, there's just so much you could do with it. And I don't know. The repetition, it was a weird deviation from his first 2.
Yeah. I mean, they still are on different planets, basically, everything in this. Like, it still is a lot different. There still is a lot, like, you got Jabba the Hutt. I mean, you're on Tatooine with Jabba the Hutt, but it's a different part of Tatooine. You don't really see anything the same. You're with Jabba the Hutt at his palace.
You're on Endor. Obviously.
Which is entirely different. I mean, they are building a Death Star, but it's not, they're building it. It's a different type of fight. They're fighting directly with the Death Star instead of, like, it's a little bit different, but I don't understand why they keep building a Death Star whenever it keeps getting destroyed. Like, you gotta, and we'll get into this later, they're going to build another one, which, it's like, once 2 of them get destroyed, you probably ought to try something else. Like, it obviously doesn't work. Like, you've obviously got a problem if you keep getting them blown up. So, probably need to figure out something else. But anyway, going back to Jabba the Hutt, that figure, Jabba, he cost $500,000.
Back then?
Yes.
Wow.
He cost $500,000. He weighed a ton. He weighed 2,000 pounds. And it took 6 people to puppeteer him.
I knew it took a handful of people to puppeteer him. I never dreamed back then it cost that much. That's astronomical.
It cost $500,000 to make him.
Yeah. Basically a big slug.
Yeah. And it took 6 people to puppeteer him. So it was one. It was 3 people inside of him, so 1 to do each arm, and then 1 to do his, 1 to do each arm, and 1 to do his head, tongue, and arm. 2 to operate his arms, head, and tongue. Another 1 to do his tail. 1 to do his, like, make his sides move and his mouth move, and then 2 radio control operators to make, like, him kind of like his pupils and, like, do some of the other crap. So yeah, 6 different people to make him move.
Yeah, it worked. I mean, I still think, that's the thing, that we've talked about. I think a lot of these special effects still work.
Mm-hmm.
Even the speeder race on Endor, I know how they filmed it, and I mean, there's parts of it that aren't great, but overall, it was still cool to watch, and stuff like that. So, like I said, it was just a little less polished. And it just felt like you were building something so good with the first one. Great, it was phenomenal, new concept that no one had ever done that way. And then you go to the second one and they just build on that. And just a little let down. I mean, overall, it's still probably my 4th or 5th, probably overall movie. And I just feel that some of that is probably, unfortunately, with nostalgia of watching it as a kid. But, like I said, this time watching it more for specific detail and everything, there's a lot of, I didn't think Han's character was well used. I thought his character was downplayed a little bit more in this one. And I don't know whether like I said, he really wanted to be killed off anyway.
Yeah.
So he probably was hoping that, the carbonite would kill him and he wouldn't even have to be in this one.
Yeah.
But, twists and turns. I mean, no one really saw Luke and Leia being twins, and I'll never forget being in the theater. I had a friend of mine in school tell me that got to see it before I did, that you get to see Vader's face in this. And I thought, oh, there's no way they're going to do this. So, as everything's unfolding, he throws the Emperor off, and then you can hear the labored breathing because all the electricity just shot, destroyed his suit, so he can't breathe. And then when he says, let me look at you, take my mask off, let me look at you with my own eyes. I remember being in my seat and I'm like, oh my God, here it is. What's Vader look like, And it's just like, so just some of that nostalgia, just remembering being in the theater at 9 years old and like, oh my God, this is what Vader looks like. And, so yeah, he's dragging him through as everyone's around him, it's like, okay, no one's paying attention that you're dragging Darth Vader through with all the stormtroopers and stuff. But yeah, I mean, overall it works. I mean, I don't like the updated stuff that they did.
At the end?
Yeah.
I was going to ask about that because I watched it, and again, I this is why I don't think I've seen it, because I watched this at the end, and as soon as we got to the end, I'm like, when they're doing the celebration, I'm like, I don't remember all these other cities being in here. And then it got to the very end where I remember them seeing, I'm like, okay, Yoda and Obi-Wan and Anakin and Vader and Anakin, and I'm like, and then it's like Obi-Wan, Yoda, and then I see young Anakin. I'm like, that's not supposed to be that way. I'm like, that's Hayden Christensen, and I'm like, that's not supposed to be that way. That's supposed to be Dave. No, it's not. It's which one is it? It's Sebastian Shaw is who it was originally, and I'm like, that's not supposed to be. It's supposed to be Sebastian Shaw. And I haven't. Why is that? That's different. That's not who that normally is.
I kind of have an issue with that. I mean, I realize now that the first 3 are done. Hayden is Anakin. That's what everyone thinks of him. But I don't know. Sometimes you just need. It was just so good. I just don't like some of the updated not maybe so much the animation, adding the cities in and stuff. I really never have a problem with that. I think it was just having Hayden there instead of the original. And I don't know.
Yeah, the cities it doesn't really matter. Like it's like it's because it doesn't really matter. Like everybody's gonna be celebrating that the Empire fell. Like who cares? You're just doing like a big wide shot of everybody of every area celebrating. Like that's not real. It didn't really make a difference. Like you just went around seeing everybody celebrating. I didn't care. I was just like, oh, that's interesting. That never happened before. Because you just saw Endor, the celebration on Endor, and then you saw the three of them, and then it ended. But instead you went to this, and then you saw the three of them. And I was just surprised whenever Anakin, like, Hayden Christensen showed up instead of the older Anakin. And I was just like, oh, that's a choice. That's interesting.
I didn't particularly like it myself. Yeah. I mean, there is a great line in the movie, and Braden and I, my son, used to watch a lot of fantasy talk before the football on Sunday, football games, and there was a gentleman on that was talking about teams that might win or lose, and he's like, it's a trap. So Admiral Akbar's "It's a trap" is really one of the best slogans that's came out of that. And it's I mean, it can be used on a lot of different things, but I remember the first time Braden heard that, he's like, oh, that's interesting. I'm like, oh, you don't know where that comes from. Let me school you here a little bit on where this comes from. So there's Star Wars and a little bit of everything.
That is a great line. It's because it's used in so many different things, and it's just because you can use it for anything. Like you can use it for so many different things, and it's just from this. Like
and it works.
It works for so many different things. But
if you don't know the background, you just think, oh, someone made it. I don't know. There's a little background there.
It's there. Yeah. But I just I was gonna ask you about the Anakin and the cities at the end of this, because I was a little like, that's interesting. I didn't. Yeah, I understand that, like you said, once the original or the prequels came out, that Anakin, like Hayden Christensen, is now like Anakin, but at the same time, like the Vader was, the one you saw. I don't know. It's the way that it was. I don't know why I don't know why it needed to be changed. But
and a lot of stuff that I think that he changed when, technology allowed. He did a lot of updating or technological changes to A New Hope and Empire. There was little changes here and there just because the technology was there. Because he always said, with all three of those films, he couldn't really make them the way he really envisioned them, because the technology wasn't there. Even though they did phenomenal things, it still wasn't where he wanted them. So in his mind, he was going back and fixing them how he originally envisioned them. And a lot of that stuff I can look over, but there's still something to be said about the original three, how they were. And I don't think most people, I mean, on Disney, you're going to see how they are now. Most people don't really realize what parts are added and stuff like that. But I still kind of just like the original three, how they originally were without all the update. And I think it is what it is.
I think, if you want to, and George Lucas, like, here's the thing. George Lucas is a hell of a lot smarter than I am. Like, dude's done a lot more than I will ever do, and made a lot more money doing this than I will ever, you
never know. You're young.
Well, he was doing this kind of crap when he was my age, so,
Well, I'm trying to be positive.
Like, dude's a lot smarter than I will ever be with this kind of stuff, so I am not trying to say that I know anything about this, but my opinion only, is when, like, it's one thing, and I get you, like, you had a vision, and you want to go back and update things that you were like, okay, I wanted to make this like this, and I wanted to make this, look a certain way. That's one thing, and I get that. Like, that's fine. When you start changing things that change the like actual plot line. That's different. Like the whole Han shot first thing. That's changing the plot. And that's where it becomes different. Or like changing Anakin. That's something that changes like it didn't need to be changed because that's not technology being changed. That's just changing a character. Like
yeah, no,
you took him out. Like you took the other dude out. Like
yeah.
And changing Han, like that's like you change his whole character.
Yeah.
Like he's supposed to be an anti-hero. Like that's
exactly
what he's supposed to be.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I get it. Like you said earlier, adding the celebration of the cities or adding into cantinas and stuff, adding more characters and all this and that.
That doesn't
absolutely nothing to do with the plot.
It doesn't do anything. Like it nobody's gonna care because it doesn't really change anything. Like there might be some diehards who care, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't change anything about the storyline. It doesn't change anything about the plot. It just makes it maybe look a little more immersive or something like that. Like if you're just changing stuff like that doesn't really change the plot, who cares? But when you start tweaking the plot of your movie, then it kind of makes it a different movie. Like it changes the whole dynamic of everything. So that's where it starts to kind of mess with it. And in my opinion, George Lucas, dude, you made billions of dollars on this thing. You're a hell of a lot smarter than I am. But my opinion.
Well, I'm going to agree with your opinion, and even together, we're not making what George did. No. So, but I don't ever want something re-released, updated for animation. Any of that tweaking of it, I don't want you to do anything with any of the characters to change their arcs in the movie or nothing. Like I said, a lot of the stuff that he did was on the periphery, probably 99%. But there's a couple of things that you hit on that I totally agree that I just didn't like.
Yeah.
So, I mean, overall, I thought it was a really good movie to wrap up what we think of as the original trilogy. Like I said, few flaws, but overall, I thought it tied it all together really well.
Yeah.
But like I said, it was just a little disappointing coming from where Empire was.
I have one final question, and it's kind of a two-part. It's kind of a multi-layer question. So this is the original trilogy, right? This is the end of the original trilogy. So in the 80s, when you would have watched this, you feel like Vader dies. You see him come back from the dark side, right? You feel. Did you feel bad or did you feel sad when he died when you watched it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I felt bad for him.
You felt bad for him when he died. Okay. Because like you see him like die. You see Luke. You see Luke feel sad when he dies and all that kind of stuff. Okay. Now, my question about this is when the original trilogy comes out, does the fact that Anakin goes in and kills a bunch of little kids make you feel less sad that Vader dies at the end of this? Like, does that change? Because it just makes him... Because you saw him being evil in the original trilogy. But when you see the prequels, you see him be, like, a supervillain. Like, you see him be, like, one of the worst villains and one of the most evil people who can ever live. Like,
you don't mess with kids.
He slaughters a bunch of children.
Yeah.
So, did that make you feel less sad seeing him die in this? Okay, you still feel sad.
Yes, because to me, it just represented how powerful the dark side was and can be for people in general.
Okay.
And it can make them and I'm talking even in real life now, but even as a movie, it can make people do things that you would never imagine that they could do.
Mm-hmm.
And they were almost, I feel that he was just almost, well, kind of seduced by the dark side.
Yeah.
He wasn't in his right frame of mind. He had to want that. But, if you were, originally, like we talked, the whole idea was to save Padme.
Mm-hmm.
He
Yeah.
didn't want to be bad. He was just furious with what happened to his mom, losing Padme. And it was like he was just pissed off at the world. So, no, it did not change. I still felt sorry for him because I felt he got basically seduced by the dark side. And I think it just showed how powerful. I think it was George's way when he had him kill all the kids in the Jedi Temple, how powerful the dark side can be, that even people deep down that are good can do some really horrible things.
Okay.
And for him to come back and Luke still to see the good in him, yeah, I kind of felt, yeah, it did. I don't know about you, but it did not make me feel less sad for him because I think he threw his life away after being seduced by the dark side. Yeah.
Okay.
So,
I mean, I felt a little less sad, but I still
okay.
felt sad. Like I still
Yeah.
felt sad at the end. Like when he dies, like I still felt like I still had a little bit of feeling for it, but I felt a
Yeah.
little less sad after watching it. Like, again this close together, because this is the first time I've ever watched it like in this quick of a succession. Because I've, all never watched them in order like this or this quickly.
Mm-hmm.
We're watching them over the course of like a month. We're watching all of, or couple months. We're watching all of these. So never watched them that quick before. I don't know if you've ever done like a marathon where you watched them all in like a weekend or something, but
No.
this is the fastest I've ever watched it, all of them before. So, but yeah, I just wondered if that had affected your thought process on that. But
No, and I think part of it was too and we'll see next week with the Force Awakens. I think for people to really hate a character, you got to make them do something horrible.
Yeah,
And just little
yeah, we'll get to
for
that next
next
week.
week. Yeah, so I think that was they just had to show how. Like I said, I just think they had to show how far he was willing to go to try to save Padme.
Yeah.
And I just don't. Yeah, it didn't really change. It just goes to show that really good people. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying I forgive the dude. He's still not good, but people can have some moments in their life or throughout their life, and
Yeah.
I still think deep down he was a good guy, and I think you could see that. At the end, he wanted to see Luke. I guess he didn't really care about seeing Leia with his own eyes, but go get your sister real quick before I die. He just says, "Hey, let me look at you with my own eyes." So
Yeah.
there's not a whole lot of.
Well, I mean, he didn't even. I mean, until what, an hour before that, he didn't even know he had a
He
daughter.
didn't even
So,
know he had a
like,
daughter.
yeah, he didn't
Yeah.
even know he had
So
a
and
daughter
like I said,
until 30 minutes or an hour before that, when he's chasing Luke through the throne room. So it's
exactly. And after this, Luke goes on to train Leia.
yeah,
You just don't.
you don't see it, but yeah,
You don't see it,
yeah,
but she, and the Force is strong with her too, and you get a little bit more of that
in the other ones,
at,
yeah.
in the next three and
Hmm.
stuff like that. So, but yeah, it's an interesting question. That was a good question, but no, I still felt kind of bad for him. But like I said, I just remember being, like I said, a 9-year-old, and it's like, oh my God, they're going to take his mask off, and then he just looks like he was at that point. He was more machine than he was man.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, overall, I enjoyed it. Probably, I'd have to go back and look because it seems like I've said several of these movies are about fifth, and they can't all be about fifth out of the whole thing. So, but Rogue One's ahead of this one, and obviously A New Hope and Empire. Um, Force Awakens and this one are going to be close, but this is probably about fifth in there. It's definitely ahead of Phantom Menace. And
Okay.
Attack of the Clones is way down there, but I don't know where it ranks on yours. What do you? What are you feeling?
I would put it above Rogue One. Or sorry, not above Rogue One. I would put it probably below Rogue One. I would put it below, of course, the first two. I'd probably put it below. I'd probably put it below Revenge of the Sith too. So let's see here. That puts 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So let's see. Revenge of the Sith, New Hope has Rogue One. So that'd put it fifth where we're at right now.
Yeah.
I think,
and that's kind of what I'm saying. It's fifth at this point.
At this point, I think I'd put it fifth. Yeah.
Yeah. Because like I said, when I went back and watched Revenge of the Sith, if anyone wants to go back and watch that review, I actually enjoyed it a lot more now than I did when it originally came out.
Yeah.
I think that one's aged well, and I think that was the strongest of the first three, and it was the last one.
Yeah.
Where this set of trilogies, it's, in my opinion, the middle one. That is, because that was by far the darkest one of those first three, where Empire is so much more darker than this one. And we'll see where the trend goes here with these last three in the next 3 weeks. But yeah, I'd put it about fifth as of now.
This on the full list is sixth.
Okay.
At an 83%. It says the critics' consensus is, though failing to reach the cinematic heights of its predecessors, Return of the Jedi remains an entertaining sci-fi adventure and a fitting end to a classic trilogy. It falls behind a pretty good, actually, distance behind the first two. It's 10 percentage points below Empire, which is second behind A New Hope. So it's a full 10 points below. It's still an 83% on Rotten Tomatoes, but it's a good chunk down. It is, a Rogue One is fifth, so this is right behind Rogue One on that tier list too. But I would put it fifth out of the I guess 8 that we've watched so far. Yeah, I'd put it fifth.
Yeah, because we were going to do 11, so we got 3 more. Yeah, we got next week. Force Awakens.
Yep. I think something that we're going to have to do for the last one is we need to take all of these, all 11, and we need to make our own tier list.
Okay.
And say what order we would put them in, like all 11 of them, and say what we would put, what order, a full order of all 11, and we can do that at the end of that. But we'll have to do that for that. But yeah, I think that's it for this week. Unless you have any other notes.
No. Like I said, I've probably. It's kind of crazy. I feel like I've complained more than I have patted it on its back, but. Like I said, I think there was just some disappointment on the storytelling and stuff, just a little bit. But there's just a spot in my heart for it, of how young I was when I watched it. That is just kind of hard to get over that. But that being said, I did not enjoy it as much this time as what I have in the past. Which, it's not. If I'm going to sit down and watch Star Wars movie, it's not one that normally there's Rogue One or obviously the first two. So. And maybe that's why it just got a little too childish for me in certain parts. For as dark and everything as certain parts were at the end, there was just almost too much comic relief there with the Ewoks. That, like I said, I know who he's making it for, and I got to remember that that's not my age anymore. Yeah. So, but it wound it up pretty good. I thought it tied up everything really well.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think that's it for this week. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. And next week we will be watching episode 7, The Force Awakens. So don't forget to watch that and join us next week for that episode.